Hello and welcome back to Making It Out of the Woods. Now my maker chum Hugh from Wouldn't It Be Nice sent me some Norfolk bog oak penplanks a few weeks ago. Now for thousands of years the East Anglia Fenland Basin was densely forested with oak trees. Are you still with me? Okay, so around 7,000 years ago a rise in sea levels caused the rivers to back up and the fens were flooded. A deep silt layer had formed and covered the forest floor, and when the oaks died they fell into this silt. Deprived of oxygen, the trunks lay preserved for centuries. Eventually the fenlands began to be drained in an attempt to exploit the rich peat soils for agriculture, and over time these ancient trunks are unearthed. In my mind it's a privilege to be able to work with even just a little bit of this ancient oak. I've already made a couple of pens, and in this video I'm going to have a go at making a pendant. I hope you'll enjoy the process. The magic of YouTube means that you can watch Foxy whirling whilst I'm off casting some of the wood in resin. I cut one of the penplanks in half and then in half again and popped it into my mould. A few days later and I have a bog oak and resin blank. But why is it this weird shape, you may ask? It's because I didn't have a round mould, so I have to go and do a few tweaks on the bandsaw. There we go, that's a little rounder. Now all I need to do is rough up the back of the blank to give the hot glue a little bit more purchase when I stick it to the front of the jig. Now, do you remember this? It's an old bun foot that I used to make a jig to make my pendants with. I designed it to fit my bottle stopper mandrel, so I've got a central screw, one below it, and you'll see how this works later. Before I show you how it works, I need to spruce it up a little bit. The face of the jig is covered with pitting and old hot glue, and the best way to clean it up is on the lathe. Okay, so the face of the jig is flat again. I'll use this metal insert in the tailstock to put some pressure on the blank as the glue dries. I always add a tiny piece of sandpaper to the metal insert to help with grip, because when you initially offer the hot glued side up to the jig it can slide around. Here you'll see me applying some pressure until I get the blank in the right place, and I'll leave that pressure on until the hot glue goes off, probably about 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, that's the glue dried. Time to take the pressure off and swap the tailstock out, back for the revolving tail centre support. This just offers some support to the front of the blank as I'm shaping it to round, because obviously I'm putting a lot of pressure on the side of this blank. Bogwood's very hard and I'm having to use my negative rate cutters so I don't get too much chip out, but obviously they're not the best at cutting the bog oak, so I just go slowly with that tailstock initially up for support. Anyway, enjoy the turning process and I'll catch up with you in a minute. back again. You'll see me stopping the lathe from time to time, and what I'm doing is just checking to see how much resin I've taken off. I'll keep taking off more and more resin until I've uncovered all 4 pieces of wood. At this point I've removed the tailstock. As the shaping's all done, it's just on to sanding now. As usual, I'll work my way up through the grits, hit it with some Yorkshire grit, then Yorkshire grit microfine, and finish it with a small amount of wood wax 22. I say finish it, I mean finish this part of the process. I think most people wipe off between sanding grits just with some, I like to use the isopropanol because you get a sneaky peek of what the finished item will look like. Here comes the sneak peek. Ready? Ooh, lovely. Look how dark that wood is. The reason the wood's so dark is that when the oak's trapped beneath the silt, iron salts and other minerals react with the natural tannins in the wood and give it a dark brown, almost black colour. So that's all polished. Now it's time to swap the jig over from the central point to the off-centre point. This always messes with my mind. You'll see why. And this is why. Trippy or what? It's really weird to turn. Now the reason I've swapped it to the off-centre position is because I want to drill a hole in the pendant so that I can pass some leather through it. And obviously it doesn't need to be in the middle, it needs to be off to one side, and this jig works perfectly for it. That's the hole drilled. I just deepen it slightly with the cutter to give an angle to the bottom. Time to pop a little bit of Yorkshire grit back in the hole there, polish it off, and then the next job really is to get the pendant off the jig. Now that's easier said than done. You sometimes get lucky by breaking the seal of the hot glue just with a craft knife. This time it wasn't budging, so I had no alternative but to part it off. Of course, parting it off is fine, but it does mean that you lose a little piece of your jig each time. It won't last forever, so I'll have to find some more bun feet. Plus, it's a little bit risky. Ah, it's fine. Just dust it off a little bit. There you go, lovely. Ready to sand the back off and just to attach the piece of leather, and it's all done. 5,000-year-old bog oak, preserved forever in a fiery resin pendant. So that's it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed the project. I do have some more ideas for this bogwood, so I don't think it's the last project we'll see. As always, thanks for watching, thanks to my patrons, and remember, you guessed it, stay foxy.